Hi, it's Jon Binnie. I'm in my camper van again. Let me take you on a drive. So the reason that I'm happy today is because I have been completing my Swedish massage training here in Edinburgh in Scotland. I'm just going to close these windows because we're about to go up onto the city bypass. So yeah, today was the final assessment and I passed. Woohoo! It's been what feels like most of a year. I think it must have been around October time last year that I started the training, and I've been offering it as a service since something like I don't even know. Goes back a long time. In fact, I remember. Yeah, that's right. I remember some of my first massages were around October, November time. So it's 4 case studies of 10 treatments each, and papers, including like one for the. Would have been, for me, it would have been the equivalent of the digestive system and the musculoskeletal system, and also 40. So that's 40 hours of case studies, and then it also would have been, or is another 30 hours on top of that. So that's 30 hours of treatments, and I'm not sure how many classes we will have done, but it's about once every month or so. So yeah, in addition to all the amazing psychic work that I've been doing, it's just been incredible to add another service. I also passed my Indian head massage training, so I actually have the certificate right here in my hand. So that's passed as well. So yeah, really exciting. And they're asking, will I go on and do will I do sports massage after this? I don't know. My wife was certainly encouraging me to. She'd encouraged me to do reflexology, Swedish massage, Indian head massage, and they're big investments of time and money. Yeah, they are a lot of fun, and so I do enjoy these. And of course, blending my psychic and quantum energy healing together with these services is just a real gift to experience. I feel somewhat compelled to clean the windscreen, but I know as soon as I do, it's not going to look any better for a little while. So I'm going to hold off just now, especially during heavy traffic. We finally got our solar system, our solar panels installed this week. That was a big job, I must admit. I maybe underestimated how much disruption it would be. I was very blessed to have been able to create space and time for it. So I still had, I think, when was it? At Monday as a fairly normal day, and then Tuesday the guys turned up to do the scaffolding. Wednesday they did the install. Thursday they still had some bits and pieces left over, and then Friday was its first operational day. And I must admit, I know they will have made some calculations of how much sunlight you get, and then based on that, how much money you would earn back for the solar panels. It's not all about earning back money, but it's also, for me, I was very much guided to have more energy independence. And if you remember, a couple of months back, I was really interested in a air source heat pump, and they're like the opposite way that air conditioning works. But it was very expensive, and we only recently just found out latterly that it turns out that our gas boiler is just a few years old. In fact, when we bought the house, it must have been 3 years old. So it's quite difficult to then invest even more money than we would have spent on the solar panels. Yeah, really happy with the solar panels. The first few days are quite fascinating in the system running. And the way it simply works is that when you're on, before we would have just taken all our electricity from the main grid of the UK national power grid. And now what happens when the sunshine, the system will take as much of the sunshine as it can and use that first because it's free. And then we also added a battery. It's a 5.5 kilowatt battery. So if there's not enough solar, it'll also blend that energy. I've been more used to how camper vans work, and they're not as intelligent or expensive as these systems. And so it also blends the battery energy with what's stored in there with solar to make up what your house needs at any given time. And only when that's not enough does it go to the grid. And the theory is during the day, you charge up the battery, and overnight, it'll keep you'll just run off the battery. So really, what we've seen is the last couple of days is not only have we had free electricity because we've only used solar or battery, but we also gave back somewhere between around about £5 Great British pounds a day is what we've been giving to the back to the main grid. So that's what we would notionally get paid for. And I haven't. It'll take a few weeks for the whole kind of power generation and money back thing to all get set up. There's various certificates and agreements that need to happen with the power company. But once that's done, what would be amazing is if that surplus of money or credit in our accounts also paid for our gas. That would be amazing. But yeah, it feels really good to be independent. So if there's a power cut now, what happens is we'll just run off a battery. Probably the challenge will be, excuse me as I open a drink, the challenge will be knowing if the power's off, because you won't be able to tell in our house. So I think that'll be quite funny to find out. Anyway, we're 8 minutes in and you've lasted this far. I wasn't really sure what topics you guys have been asking me to talk about, because I've got a good 30 minutes to get back. Some of the themes you've been asking about recently, some of you have been asking about how do you connect with ETs, extraterrestrials, galactic beings. And some of you have voiced, just like the experiences that we have, similar to the frustrations that we have with contacting our spirit guides, is that it takes it's funny as I'm saying this, is something, a very large bird straight ahead of us, it's swooping around. I think it's looking for roadkill. What is that? It could be a buzzard. They're like form of eagle. Yeah, it's really big wings. So yeah, you've been asking about how to contact your, for all intents and purposes, galactic brothers and sisters. So galactic beings, to get here, they have to travel interdimensionally, or arguably you could say they already have to be here. And if you remember, if you've watched any of the videos that I've done with Sarah from UFO Girly, who films a lot of nighttime videos of what, on the face of it, what looks like you could easily mistake it for satellites or stars moving around. But to our knowledge, stars don't move, and or not to visible to the naked eye. And then also satellites don't do this kind of loop the loop and interact with each other and spin around the place and power up and have these big flashes of light. So there's a lot that happens in the sky if we just pay more attention. So the first thing, and this is really, it's fascinating how the journey of connecting physically, or should I say more physically, with galactic beings is so similar to the experiences that we have with spirit guides. So for example, when you're walking in the street or in your home or work or somewhere, and there's a feather that lands at your feet. And the funniest places I've seen them are things like within a stairwell in an office that has no windows, and to get the feather there, it would have to be carried by someone in and dropped, or a bird would have to come in and get stuck. It just seems that the feather is completely misplaced. And when you see it, you can think through some logical explanations for it, but when you really think about it and you really study it, and most importantly you feel into the energy of it, you realize that this is a sign. It's some sort of a sign, and it may be, and you can place your hand on your heart and ask heart, what is this sign? You can also just say out loud, spirit guides, was this you? And as it happens, whenever this event happens, and I'll get on to galactic beings in a moment, when this happens, acknowledge what you're doing, so where you are. This is the process of forming a memory, right? Where you are, what you're doing, really importantly, how you're feeling. What are you thinking about in that moment? Lightly, you're not scared, or the sign itself has caused you to be excited and open-hearted and opening up. And pay attention to how that feels in your body. If that feels good and exciting, if it's a feather, or you might be looking at a car number plate, a car bumper sticker, you might see 444s, 888s. I see loads of 7s, especially on my phone recently. And there's a 7 on the road here. 720 is the name of the city bypass road. And when these things happen, just allow yourself to feel into the meaning of the sign. And if you've already built some sort of a communication with your spirit guides, or you're forming one, just say out loud, spirit guides, was this you? Which is much safer than asking the sign itself, are you my spirit guide? Because anything can answer that question, right? And lie about it. The most important thing of all this is say thank you so much, thank you for the feather, thank you for the numbers, thank you for the signs. Say it with a smile, celebrate it. You'll remember that joy, and the joy frequency is 540 hertz compared to lower vibrations around the 20s, 40s, 100 hertz and below. This is way more powerful, this joy and happiness and gratitude, than these lower vibrations. So say thank you, woohoo! Thank you so much. I got a sign. Thank you, spirit guides. Thank you, universe. Okay. Now, remember we were talking about the feather being, this was a particular sign. I keep seeing loads. Still see lots of feathers. And I do exactly that practice. And it might sound a lot, but really you're just going to do a scan of yourself, wonder what you're thinking, feeling. You're asking your spirit guides what the message is, and then you're celebrating with gratitude. And it will stick in your mind, right? It'll become more prominent. So the same is with our skies. If you're wanting to seek engagement with our galactic brothers and sisters, it is important that you, first of all, expand your thinking beyond just, what we might perceive as a more heavier vibration, physical, third-dimensional craft, or even a third-dimensional craft that's capable of jumping between different dimensions. Because the reality is, in our skies, there is so much to experience. Some of my first experiences were dragons. And what I saw was, I remember at the time there was a lot of trouble going on outside of the house that I lived, and the woods next door. There was always, every weekend, and then there was a lot during the week as well, there was fires and fights and parties, and you couldn't imagine it in such a small, lovely town. But people were coming from all the surrounding towns, and sometimes from the city, right down next to my house, and just going crazy. And things got really bad. Things got so bad that eventually arrests were made. And I won't go into the details because they were really dark about what was going on there. But during that time, I would often walk Patch, our dog, out with that immediate area. And I remember seeing in the sky these big, long, white clouds, and they had form, and they looked like dragons. And I'm getting these lovely tingles up and down the back of my neck. There were wise and loving feeling from them. Their shapes they always turned up in these calm skies. They're very wise and very protective. And during the circa 3 years, probably maybe two and a half definitely, of really difficult times. I mean, this was all after my awakening, right? Really difficult times, experiencing lots of challenges with people outside causing problems, and police involved, fire brigade, schools involved, community wardens, like the list goes on. And after all I did to help bring that to an end, after getting all those parties involved together and holding meetings at the local police station, including with the residents as well, that nothing ever happened to me and my family. None of us were threatened or had any violence or even verbal towards us. Nothing happened to our property, other than just right at the end, people started graffitiing the outside wall. But when I look back at the impossibleness, so it was, and this is to explain like what was happening with dragons in our skies, their protectiveness is that when you're divinely protected, in this example, which I did not understand at the time, it was only when the dragons turned up that I started to realize that something bigger than me was lightly supporting me. And I remember reflecting on it, thinking, because loads of other neighbours had damage to their properties, and ours was the closest. Like we were just 2 meters from the fires, 2 meters from people fighting, taking drugs, using aerosols, like all kinds of stuff. And worse. And what's incredible is that nothing ever happened to us. And literally, sometimes we would leave the front door of the house, and there would be crowds, hundreds of people. Well, literally, the police counted at one time 280 people. And when they were surrounded our property, they would just, when we left our house, it was incredibly intimidating, but we would just go out and they would just move, step aside and let us pass. So when I think back, I felt terrified at the time, and it was also triggering huge past life traumas for me. And I realized that these dragons in the sky were absolutely protectors. That it was seemingly impossible, especially given all the other neighbors' damage, that my house, our family house, and our property was left almost completely unharmed, except for the graffiti. And it was the last couple of weeks before we moved house, which is ironic. And technically, we don't own that side of the wall. The council did. So all it did is just email the council, and they came and cleaned it up. So the point here is, you might be looking for a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, a UFO, flying saucer. You might be looking for a big spaceship. You might be looking for orbs in the sky. You might be looking for orbs doing dances in the sky with different colors. You might be looking for a craft landing on the ground. You might be looking for spirits, angels, dragons. My point here is, please open your heart to considering all of these things, because when you ask, and you do need to ask, for a being to visit you, then they're gonna, the beings, in particular, if they have your highest good at heart, they will figure out from your energy and how open your heart is what you're ready for. And it's true, back then, and I still have very clear memories of decades of wanting to see a UFO. And when I began to see them, I started, in some respects, craving more, but it also did help quench that thirst. I was like, oh, these are like not just real, there are loads of different sizes and shapes, and you can see all these different different crafts. And the one I talked the most about, there's been many, but the biggest and closest was the Galactic Federation ship Athena that visited me, and she's just huge. What a massive ship, and so close. It felt like she was just a couple of miles away from where I was. Not totally in height, but I don't even know what height it was. I would definitely lower than a plane. Felt more like a bit, maybe, when planes come into land, they often do that like kind of cruising altitude as they come down towards airports. And maybe that varies in different regions, different countries, but that kind of height, like, really felt quite low. And that experience, we were just about to go into lockdowns, and of course I didn't know that at the time. And I was in a place where I was, consistent with my practice. I was, so my daily meditation practice, I felt my heart was opening. I felt like I was going through some kind of a shift. I mean, I still feel like I'm going through many kinds of shifts, but there was something about that time when I feel back, I was ready for that next transformation. And they also had to go to a huge amount of effort. Like they spent a lot of time telling me, both immediately on that same day when I asked who was this that visited me, and they answered saying it was many galactic beings from across the universe came to visit me, and because they all had the lights on. It was like a massive, giant, not quite cigar shape, like somewhere between a Zeppelin and cigar shape, but it had lights on all the way across it. And I asked what the lights were, and they said they were all the windows that all these beings that were looking out the window at me. So what I experienced was this very physical, visceral, and my body reacted. I felt that beautiful love. A lot of people describe that this you know, these feelings when you truly let go, you truly relax. It might be a moment that you catch yourself on vacation, on a holiday, in meditation, in your self-care days, in those moments where you have a long lie in bed or a long bath, like those sorts of feelings where your body feels very relaxed, but the love is so high vibration, and you feel like you just want to be there. You want to be in it all the time. It's just wonderful to feel. So that is, you know, one way you'll experience these beings. The other message my spirit guides have for you is that there's a small clue here in. I've been aware for some months that my spirit guides themselves have challenges visiting me physically. And can you guess what that is? Term spirit and guide, and then they asked to physically come here, like come and land in my garden. And they said, Jon, we can't do it. And I said, oh, why not? You know, your spirit guides. They said, yes, spirit. We are in spirit. We can't come to visit you physically. And that was a big moment for me. And it's something I'm still feeling into, because I felt that my spirit guides perhaps do still have physical lives right now. In other words, that they're, you know, in third dimensional human terms, we would describe them as dead or alive, right? So are their bodies dead? And they're just giving me an answer just now. Some, yeah, for some of them are. They don't have a body at the moment, so it is just the soul, the spirit that I'm working with. And others do have physicality. Because when I first made the request, they said, "Oh, we're going to get an Andromedan to come and work with you." It's like, but I didn't think I had any Andromedan guides at that. Andromedan. Arcturian, too many A's. So I didn't have any Arcturian guides at that time. And they said, but we're going to find someone that has your highest good at heart, and that will come and visit you physically. And that was really fascinating, because I'd had years ago these premonitions, these visions of seeing Arcturian craft landing right next to where I live. Now, like right outside my house, before I even knew I was going to buy that house. And I just remember seeing this visions. I was seeing these visions of this guy wandering out into the field, and then seeing these craft landing there in the field, and exactly that location, right outside my house. So, where is it going? Yeah, so you can ask your spirit guides, but they might not be in form right now. So it might be difficult for them to find a way to turn up in a body. Okay, and here's some more new information to me anyway, and this is come through in a few different ways. So let's go back to my dear friend Sarah, UFO Girlie. We've been chatting, you know, in between our podcasts. We've done 3 podcasts together, sharing our experiences and talking more about, you know, what we've been doing. And I didn't realize to begin with what camera she used, even though she absolutely advertised it. Like she says on every post, the camera she uses. There's something very magical about the camera she uses. It's a Psionics Aurora Pro, and it does this kind of next generation night vision that blends in infrared, like ultraviolet, with with traditional night vision, with like color video. So what you see when, for instance, you look at a tree at night, you probably wouldn't be able to see it with your human eye, but because it's effectively its sensor, its CCD is mapping these very high vibrational colors into something that you can see. It maps it into like a higher frequency, like a purple, so the trees kind of look a bit purpley at night, but you can see it. And what's fascinating is you can see a lot more that's happening in the sky. Why is that, John? Why can you see more with things like night vision cameras, and especially more advanced night vision cameras, than you can with the naked eye? So my first, even before I really asked that question, I did ask my guides what a different but very similar question. I asked them, what is Sarah seeing when she's filming these? They often look like star-like orbs, these craft coming up from the ground. Typically, they're flying around, interacting with each other. Sometimes there's whole parades and clusters. They change color, size, and shape. They pulse with different energy. I said, how is this? What is Sarah actually recording here? And my guide said, John, there's like an output of the, how to describe it, an output of the propulsion mechanism, which is a form of anti-gravity, but it's more of an interdimensional shift, so it shifts their propulsion systems, shift the energy of the craft out of the third dimension. And what you're seeing is a fourth dimensional, often a low vibrational fourth, but it's a fourth dimensional craft. And that really surprised me. And they said, what you're really seeing is this bleed of energy come from the fourth dimension, so lower fourth dimension into the higher third dimension. Well, this starts to make more sense, right? And I know that the prospect of dimensional hopping or portals and all these kinds of things they're not totally new to the UFO, UAP phenomena. But this really started to make sense to me, that you could travel through the fourth dimension, like a hyperspace, if you like, to be able to get to Earth really fast, because you can bend and fold space through interdimensional travel. And not just that, remember I was talking about the night vision, these higher frequencies. I thought that guy's going to do a wee. He's letting his dog wee, that's good. So what happens is, when you film with these night vision cameras, they're looking up to the very top of the third dimension and into the fourth dimension. So this is why you're seeing things that you can't see with the human eye. Now, I will say, and at the most vivid that I saw this the most activity I saw was Christmas Day at the end of last year, so Christmas Day 2024. I saw tons of craft flying above me in my morning run. I don't know how many it was, somewhere between 20 and 25, doing all the similar things that you see on Sarah's videos, with my naked eye, just out running. And when going back to the feather analogy or experiences that we were talking about earlier, you don't know what it is you're looking for until, first of all, you ask for it, you have an open heart, you open your mind up. I'm just going to have to clean these windows finally. And you say to your mind and your heart, I'm ready to receive these experiences for my highest good, or ready to physically meet beings that have my highest good at heart. And that's when these things come into view. That's when they will often start at a distance and then gradually work, come in close to you. Now, you'll be aware of stories of alien abductions, physical beings, grey, greys, zetas, tall, whites, like all these different names of species visiting people physically. And I've had a dear friend who now they're no longer in. They died as a human, but they did have a deep hypnosis session to understand about what would happen in missing time, and they discovered more about their abductions, what had been happening to them during abductions. And a really key aspect of the abductions were, it's true, as a human, they were not particularly happy about it. They did not really want it. However, their soul had agreed before they were born, and not, in the few weeks and months just before they were born, that they were going to help the Zetas, Zeta aliens, and their friends, their partners, with helping cultivate, with DNA, studying their own DNA and studying how to help find the longevity that they seek as a species through experiments with our DNA. So their soul had consented, and this wasn't just something that my friend, thought, oh, isn't that, very nice of my soul to do that, and I'm not very happy about it. Like, it really resonated, and it brought a lot of calm and peace to those experiences, knowing that there's a part of you, a very high vibration part of you, that understands more than your individual incarnation does. And so for these people that have had, I'm not saying this is true for every single alien abduction, right? But it's more me acknowledging that people do go through contact experiences without consent, or without conscious consent, or without consent of that individual. And sometimes it's by accident as well. They'll stumble across different beings when they're out and about, and maybe they're out camping, or maybe they turn up in an unexpected place, and often there'll be some sort of a attempt at correcting that. The next thing they know, the person wakes up in their own bed when they've been miles away from home, like all these different things. I don't feel that I've been physically abducted, but in dream time I travel a lot to galactic ships, and I also go in meditations, and yeah, they're wonderful to visit. So the good news is, after much deep thought and soul searching, I have purchased a Psionics Aurora Pro on the recommendation of my spirit guides and also Sarah at UFO Girly, and we're just driving past now. So we're just driving past where I run. Now, I do feel like I'm going to end up seeing quite a lot where I live at home, but on the right hand side here, and you can just see a little bit of the hill, I'd so love to take it up here. You can see fields, right? There's no street lights and stuff, and it gets very bright. You can see the Aurora Borealis when it's here. You can see a lot of stars, and I'm really excited to go filming. And my guides have been on at me. Initially, they wanted me to put a CCTV camera style camera outside of night vision. I've still got that camera, but never set it up, and it's so strange that I wouldn't do that. There's something about it just didn't feel quite right. This feels right, the camera, but it was a huge investment. I'm not going to tell you the price here. Maybe you'll get them cheaper in the US, but in the UK, it's the most expensive thing I've ever bought. And so I feel very blessed to be able to afford it. And then my other feeling is that you guys are going to love it. What you see, you're going to experience, you're going to love. And it's going to help me. It'll be another hobby to have as well. I could do with hobbies that aren't just music and psychic work. I can have fun with aliens. So yeah, looking forward to getting that. I'm not sure when it'll turn up. I mean, it might be at home already. I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll wait and see. Okay, so this is me almost at home, and I just wanted to say a massive thank you to you all. We're almost we're 24th of May. In another 6 days, it'll be the anniversary of my 1 year of my business. My first anniversary. And on Sunday night, so tomorrow night, I've got my membership group. We're meeting again. Now, we only met during the week, but I have a holiday coming up, so like compressed a lot of the sessions together. So excited for that. I'll be posting in the membership group about it. Monday, I'm doing a psychic night event in Haddington on Monday, and so really looking forward to that, doing it with the amazing Natasha Rocha. And it's a small, intentionally we set for like a smaller group, and they sold out. It sold out within 24 hours. And then also Thursday it will be at the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle Centre in Edinburgh. Natasha and I will be presenting and doing a workshop, a psychic workshop with the Theological Society. I want to say theosophical, but that's not a word. Maybe it should be. So it'd be lovely seeing them, and they're also asking if we could do a regular event. So I just said let's feel it out first, because it's a big commitment, and it's the other side of the city for me, which is a lot. So yeah, looking forward to. It was my daughter. It's taking our little dog Patch out, which is nice. So yeah, looking forward to a busy week. I've also got some quite long periods of rest in those days as well, and hopefully Monday the scaffolding will be taken away because it's rattling away in the wind and making so much noise last night. It'll be taken away from our house now. Our solar panels are up. So yeah, excited for that. Except for my membership group, all day tomorrow is off, which is fantastic. So yeah, I hope you're all doing well. If you have any requests for videos, let me know. And thank you so much for watching. Take care, everyone. Sending love. Bye.